Well, it seems the Free State town of Brandfort is changing its name. Earlier this month, the Arts and Culture Minister gazetted the change from Brandfort to Winnie Mandela. The late struggle icon was, of course, banished to Brandfort during the apartheid years. She lived there from 1977 to 1985. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Professor Chita Twala, an Associate Professor of History, also Vice Dean in the Faculty of Humanities at the University of the Free State. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. Brandfort has an absolutely fascinating history. Winnie Mandela was kept there for many years under house arrest. But even before that, I understand it's also the birthplace of the architect of apartheid, Hendrik Verwoerd. Tell us a little bit more.
Thank you very much for hosting me today in order for me to give a historical narrative of the town called Brandfort. Yes, Brandfort, historically, it is a small town, about 60, 70 kilometers outside Bloemfontein, and it has got a long history, whether in terms of the apartheid history as well as the history pertaining to the struggle for liberation. Yes, you are correct that it is the birthplace of one of the founding fathers and the architecture of apartheid, as well as it also played a significant role during what we call the South African War of 1899 to 1902. If you visit Brandfort today, you can still see the graves of those who fought during that war, which was called then the Anglo-Boer War, which we refer to it today as the South African War. And there are some information also that there were other black people who also participated in the war. And because we wanted to argue from the historical point of view that no war could have happened on the South African soil and be called an Anglo-Boer War without the involvement of the Africans themselves. Brandfort as a town played a historical role in that regard. And then coming back to the liberation studies and liberation history, it also became a landmark when Winnie Mandela was banished to Brandfort in May 1977 up to 1985, as you alluded to. Therefore, that makes the place itself and the house number 802 in Patagathe section in Majomasu, Brandfort, to be an important house in as far as the history of the place and the history of the region and the history of the Free State is concerned.
Talk to me about...
That is important for us historically.
What Winnie Mandela would have experienced on her arrival in 1977. It really was a banishment. It was a difficult period for her. What she would have experienced there, and also the fact that she left quite a lasting mark on the town, didn't she?
Yes, definitely so. Remember, the project of the apartheid regime was definitely to frustrate her, moving her from Johannesburg into a small town of Brandfort, which is Sotho-speaking people. And with her background from Nguni, you can just imagine the frustration that it was imposed upon her. But the whole agenda failed dismally because the end product of banishing her to Brandfort had different results rather than those which were envisaged by the apartheid government, because while she was in Brandfort, she managed to mobilize the youth and conscientize them politically during the period when she was still in Brandfort. We talk about the youth from the region, from places like Welkom, from places like Bloemfontein.
Yeah.
The youth visit her in Brandfort and get some political education there.
Therefore,
it's absolutely to banish Brandfort, it was counterproductive.
I want to speak to you about the name change, and it's interesting how you mentioned another name change, and that is the changing of the Anglo-Boer War to the South African War, because that first name excludes the role of black South Africans. Do you think it's really important that Brandfort is changing its name to Winnie Mandela, and do you think it will go some way to perhaps healing some of the pain of that past? As a historian, do you see these acts as significant?
Definitely so, and to me, it is a step in the right direction, and it is long overdue. It should have happened a long time ago. In order to bridge the gap and the healing part, we need also to acknowledge the role played by the likes of Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and then how that helped us and the people then in terms of getting the freedom that we are enjoying today. Therefore, name changes are also significant, and we can't shy away from the history that is there unless we acknowledge such people and change some of the names in order to acknowledge such people. We are not going to get healing correct, and we are not going to get the historicization of our history in South Africa correct. Therefore, we can't divorce our understanding of liberation history from the past, and then it is important that we correct the wrongs of the past by also changing the names. That is important historically.
Thank you so much for talking to me this evening, Professor Chita Twala, an Associate Professor of History, also Vice Dean in the Faculty of Humanities at the University of the Free State, talking to me about the change in name from Brandfort to Winnie Mandela Town. Still